If any part of this found you in the quiet, hold it. Don't post about it. Don't talk about it. Let it guide one small, deliberate shift, because that's how new standards are born, and everything after that follows. You've been told that wanting more is greedy, that ambition should be tamed, that peace means settling. But what if that discomfort you feel is sacred? What if it's not a flaw, but a frequency, a call to expand? We're raised to believe we need permission, to want more, to change direction, to expect better. But waiting for permission is how dreams decay. Napoleon Hill didn't write for the comfortable. He wrote for the restless, the ones who sensed they were made for more, even when their surroundings said, "Be grateful, stay quiet." He spoke of a law, a force that mirrored your belief, your vibration, your emotional posture. He called it the law of attraction. But not the watered-down version we hear today. Not just visualize and wait. He taught, you become what you vibrate, not what you pretend. And your vibration? It's not just your mood, it's your standards. It's the tone you carry when no one is watching. That quiet pressure you feel, that's not anxiety, that's a message, a signal, a sacred agitation. Because something in you knows, this isn't all there is. You're not lazy, you're misaligned, you're not broken, you're buried. Buried beneath people-pleasing, perfectionism, past versions of yourself that were built for survival, not success. You don't need another motivational quote. You need a new inner contract. One that says, I will not lower my standards to fit in. I will not shrink to soothe other people's insecurity. I will not betray myself just to be liked. Because when you do that, the world doesn't clap. It just takes more. Napoleon Hill didn't say, think nice thoughts. He said, think and grow rich. Thinking was the start. Growing was the process. Rich wasn't just money, it was power. It was peace, it was alignment. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And who you are is shaped by what you tolerate. So let me ask you, what are you tolerating right now that's beneath your calling? What are you allowing because it's familiar? Even though it's killing your clarity. The law of attraction isn't magic, it's math. Input equals output. If you keep feeding your life with confusion, chaos, comparison, don't be surprised when clarity avoids you. Clarity isn't something you find, it's something you choose, something you protect, something you enforce. And once you do, everything changes. Not overnight, but inevitably, because when your vibration shifts, so does your world. That is the real power of thought, to build a new atmosphere inside you that calls in better by becoming better. If you feel called to move, even quietly, even awkwardly, follow it. That's not rebellion, that's resonance. The version of you that's waiting, it's not far away. It's underneath what you're willing to release, and it's ready. So take the first shift, today, quietly, and the world will adjust. You keep moving, but the gap between effort and outcome keeps growing. You start questioning if you're even meant to succeed. What if your failure wasn't from lack of desire, but lack of structure? The crisis of confused commitment. Desire isn't enough. Discipline is the difference. You're not broken. You're just building without a blueprint. Most people don't fail from lack of effort. They fail from misalignment. They spend years chasing clarity without ever creating containers to hold it. That's what creates burnout. Napoleon Hill said that thoughts become things, but only when those thoughts are directed, believed, and structured. He never promised ease, he promised precision. Success, as Hill taught, is emotional vibration organized into a repeatable method. You can think and feel all day, but if your life isn't built to hold what you desire, it won't stay. That's the danger of thinking without scaffolding. We confuse ambition with architecture, and that's why we spiral. We want the outcome, but not the structure. We crave results, but resent repetition. Think of two people starting a fitness journey. One joins a gym and shows up only when motivated. The other builds a weekly schedule and follows it regardless. Who do you think gets results? Napoleon Hill called it faith in action. Not hope, not hype, but clear behavior born from belief. The law of attraction isn't passive, it's engineered. You attract what your habits make room for. That's the foundation of manifestation explained by Hill. Repetition, not randomness. But our culture sells chaos as passion. Hustle as progress. We get lost in the noise. We romanticize breakthrough and overlook structure. Structure is sacred because it anchors you when everything else feels unstable. The truth, you don't rise to your vision, you fall to your systems. And if your systems are inconsistent, so will be your progress. That's not judgment. That's physics. That's how attraction works. Napoleon Hill never intended for his method to become fluff. His message was one of method. Emotional clarity plus belief systems, daily action equals transformation. Let's go deeper. Inner alignment isn't about pretending to be confident. It's about structuring for consistency, even when doubt whispers. That's what gives the power of thought its staying power, when emotion meets execution. Structure doesn't cage your creativity. It protects it. It gives it a rhythm, and rhythm builds results. You want more success? Don't wait for motivation. Build a method. You want more clarity? Don't journal once. Build a system that protects your mind from noise. We say we want change, but real change requires rule setting, boundary keeping, schedule defending. And no, it's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it's honest. Motivation is a spark, but structure is the engine. This is the core of Napoleon Hill method. Success comes not from rare action, but from repeated alignment. If your life feels chaotic, ask, do I have a system that honors my goal, or am I relying on willpower? Here's the thing, the people you admire, they don't always feel like it, but they show up because their structure makes it easier to succeed than to quit. Attraction doesn't respond to hope, it responds to infrastructure. So let's build yours. Start small. Pick one area, calendar it, commit to it, build the rule, and then keep the rule, especially when no one's watching, because that's how alignment grows, and alignment compounds. That's the power of thought when it's sustained, not just sparked. If this feels confronting, good. That means you're close to change. Don't retreat. Re-architect. Structure isn't the opposite of freedom. It's the foundation of it. Every decision either honors your vision or delays it. There's no neutral action. Every habit is a vote for the future you're building. So next time resistance shows up, don't ask, do I feel like it? Ask, does this reinforce the structure I said I wanted? That's the pivot. That's where things change. Not with noise, but with non-negotiables. What if the real reward is self-respect? What if feeling better starts with becoming better? You weren't lazy. You just hadn't demanded more from yourself. Becoming the standard you admire. We admire people who move with clarity, who hold themselves to something higher. Not because it's trendy, but because it's true. But what if becoming that person isn't about transformation? What if it's about return? Returning to the part of you that never wanted to settle. Napoleon Hill believed that change doesn't begin outside. It begins at the level of standards, what you're willing to hold, even when no one notices. We think shame comes from failure, but most of it comes from self-betrayal. From knowing we could have held the line and didn't, like a runner who stops at the first hill. Not because he's tired, but because he knows no one would know. But you know. And that's enough to either break you or rebuild you. When you raise your standards, you don't just change your habits, you change your identity. And when identity shifts, so does attraction. This is how the law of attraction really works. It doesn't reward what you say, it reflects what you are. The moment you stop tolerating confusion, clutter, half-hearted commitments, something inside realigns, and suddenly, you're no longer chasing alignment. You're living it. Napoleon Hill's wisdom always pointed to self-honesty. You don't become magnetic by pretending. You become magnetic by being exact with yourself. Self-respect isn't a feeling, it's a standard, one you live in silence, without applause, without witnesses. And that's what makes it powerful. Most of us were never taught to hold the line. We were taught to seek approval, to avoid conflict, to be agreeable. But that agreement came at a cost, a subtle erosion of identity. The way back isn't loud. It's slow, intentional. It starts with one decision. I will no longer lower the bar just to be liked. Every time you say yes to something misaligned, you say no to your future. Excellence isn't noisy. It's invisible, repeated effort. You don't build dignity in the spotlight. You build it when no one is watching. In the gym at 6 a.m., in the decision to walk away, in the refusal to explain your worth. Think and feel. It's not about mood, it's about integrity. It's about choosing what aligns, even when no one sees it. Faith in action is staying kind when tested, disciplined when tired, and focused when no one claps. That's real belief. Napoleon Hill method isn't about performance. It's about presence, real presence, rooted in inner alignment. Attraction starts when you no longer tolerate misalignment. That's how attraction works, not by chasing, but by aligning. when you live as if the outcome is already yours because your belief systems are that solid. You stop chasing outcomes, you start embodying them. That's manifestation explained, not in energy woo-woo, but in behavioral consistency, in how you speak to yourself, in what you allow, in how you schedule your life. The power of thought comes not from volume, but from direction. One clear thought, practiced daily, can rewire a lifetime. We all carry an emotional vibration. Yours sharpens when you keep promises to yourself. And when that inner tone shifts, so does your outer world. So today, start there with one boundary, one standard, one promise. Then keep it. That's how you build self-trust. And when you trust yourself, you become magnetic. Not because you're trying, but because you've become. Write it down. One standard, one shift. And let that be the first note in a new frequency. One that calls in better, not through force, but through alignment. That's what we call becoming. Quiet, grounded, powerful becoming. It starts with a vow no one hears. It deepens with every time you honor it. And one day, you realize you're no longer trying to become the standard. You are the standard. You don't have to say a word. Your standards speak. People treat you based on what you allow, not what you explain. When your inner rhythm is steady, the world adjusts. The culture you carry. You're not just building a life, you're setting the tone. We often think culture is something external, the vibe of a workplace, the mood of a city, but culture begins inside. The energy you walk with becomes the atmosphere you create. Napoleon Hill spoke often about definiteness of purpose, but what he really described was clarity of presence, the quiet knowing of someone who no longer negotiates with noise. When you raise your standards, you shift the ecosystem around you. You stop explaining yourself. You stop overcompensating. You simply are. And that being teaches louder than any words. Think of two teachers. One commands presence without raising her voice. The other loses control before class begins. The difference? Clarity. The world doesn't yield to the loudest. It yields to the clearest. People mirror your energy. And when you move from structure, from belief-backed behavior, others respond not to what you say, but to what you signal. This is how attraction really works. Not as persuasion, but as projection. You project your inner alignment, and the world reflects it back. That's how attraction works. Clarity becomes culture. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to embody what you already decided. Most people are trying to create change while still tolerating confusion. But the moment you stop allowing misalignment, your life stops attracting it. Clarity doesn't make you rigid. It makes you trustworthy. When people know you have standards, they treat you differently. When you have boundaries, you move with peace. When you live from belief, you attract others who do the same. You're not just leading yourself, you're leading your environment. Your tone teaches louder than your voice ever could. That's how culture is built. And culture isn't crafted in boardrooms. It's crafted in the daily choices of people who know who they are. You become the kind of person others adjust to, not from ego, but from example. Two people walk into work. One is early, prepared, composed. The other stumbles in late, scattered, apologizing. Same job, but only one sets the tone. So what kind of atmosphere do you carry? Because you are the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't just measure energy, you set it. And when you move from that place with integrity, clarity, and non-negotiable standards, the world doesn't just notice, it reorganizes. Faith in action means consistency that doesn't demand applause. Think and feel with precision. Use your power of thought as a tool, not to wish, but to guide. To move with meaning, not noise. This is what Napoleon Hill meant by vibration. Not just emotional highs, but emotional steadiness that creates safety, clarity, and results. Manifestation explained isn't magic. It's the byproduct of magnetic standards. And belief systems, they're not just affirmations. They're built through behavior. When your daily structure reflects your values, people feel that, even before they understand it. Raise your tone, refine your standards, lead with example. This is not the time to shrink. This is the time to embody. People don't follow advice, they follow energy. And your energy becomes potent when it aligns with who you say you are. So what will you carry into tomorrow? Let it be structure, not excuses. Let it be alignment, not approval. Let it be inner truth, not external noise. And let your presence become your protest. That's what the law of attraction demands. Not vague dreaming, but vibrational discipline. an emotional vibration rooted in clarity and character. This isn't about magic, it's about a method. The Napoleon Hill method. Faith plus structure, belief backed by action, identity clarified through behavior. Because clarity isn't the finish line, it's the starting gate. Once you see, you can't unsee. And once you know, you can't unknow. So the next right move? It's yours. You've learned, you've reflected, you've waited. Now act, not for performance, but for proof. Proof to yourself that you are who you say you are. So write the plan, set the tone, anchor the structure, raise the vibration. Let your emotional frequency become your signature. Don't whisper your future, declare it through consistency. One action today, one rule enforced, one thought practiced. That's all it takes. Because once your energy speaks clearly, your world will answer. This is what we explore every day here at Mindset Mastery Hub.